So, you want to know how I became the villain of my own family's twisted little drama? Grab your coffee, maybe a glass of wine, because this is going to be a ride. My name is Avery Collins. I'm 31 years old, a civil engineer living in a cozy little loft in Seattle, and on paper, I'm the picture of success. Great job, decent savings, I've got my life together. The kind of life, ironically, that my family constantly bragged about while secretly trying to burn down. But for 20 years, the picture of success was also the picture of a fool, a walking, talking human ATM machine. And the worst part? I was the oldest, the responsible one, the one who was supposed to be the good daughter. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family, except we weren't. We were a toxic, perfectly balanced ecosystem of enablement and exploitation. There was Hunter, my younger brother, the golden child, 24, perpetually unemployed by choice, and a self-proclaimed crypto artist. Translation: spoiled, manipulative, and convinced the world owed him everything. Then there was Mia, my little sister, 21, an aspiring lifestyle influencer with zero originality and enough entitlement to fill a stadium. She was the princess, always demanding the spotlight, even if it was just a 5-second TikTok of her crying. And then there were my parents, Linda and Ron. Linda, my mother, was the maestro of guilt. She could turn a simple request for money into a 20-minute operatic performance about her failing health and how I was the only one who ever cared. My father, Ron, was the silent enabler. He never yelled. He never asked directly. He just perfected the disappointed sigh and the passive-aggressive headshake that made you feel like you were letting down the entire Collins lineage by daring to keep $1 of your own paycheck. I was the scapegoat, the money machine. I moved to Seattle right after college, thinking distance would save me. It didn't. I started working at 19, paying for my own college while balancing my parents' emergencies. When I was 22, Hunter totaled his car, while drunk naturally, and they needed a new down payment now. Linda called me, sobbing about how he was suicidal, and if I didn't help, it would be on my conscience. I sent $8,000. It wasn't my conscience she was appealing to. It was the bottom line. A year later, Mia decided she needed a medical sabbatical from community college because she had severe social media anxiety. My parents were instantly supportive. A $15,000 tuition loan that went straight to a designer handbag and a European backpacking trip. I swallowed it because she just needs to find herself, Avery. You wouldn't understand. Then there was the time my dad's plumbing business was suddenly cash poor. Right before Christmas. He didn't ask. He just texted me a single heart-wrenching gif of a sad-looking puppy in the rain. $5,000. No questions asked because you don't question the puppy. And the credit cards? Oh, the revolving door of credit cards. They'd max one out, I'd pay it off to save their credit, and then they'd max out the next. I tracked it all. Every late fee, every car repair, every rent top-up, every ridiculous medical bill that mysteriously appeared. I built a spreadsheet in Google Docs, deep in the cloud, titled simply, The Black Hole. Last time I checked, the running total I had hemorrhaged to keep their dysfunctional ship afloat stood at $450. I know the exact figure. It was more than my student loans. It was more than a down payment on a decent house. It was my freedom, my security, my future, all drained away, drop by exhausting drop. I had become numb. When the phone rang, I didn't feel rage or sadness anymore, just a dull, cold exhaustion. It was a transaction. They called, I paid, they went quiet for a week, and the cycle spun on. My life was defined not by my demanding engineering job, but by the financial tether that stretched 3,000 miles back to the emotional prison I had escaped. I was tired. So deeply, irrevocably tired. The shift started subtly, like a tremor before an earthquake. Hunter, the golden boy, announced his grand plan. He was going to a crypto convention in Miami, Florida. Not just any convention, mind you. This was an exclusive, invite-only VIP experience that would change his life and lead to a multi-million-dollar partnership. I knew instinctively that this meant gambling, drugs, and a spectacular failure. But it got worse. The next day, Mia announced she was going too, because Hunter couldn't possibly navigate South Beach nightlife alone. Suddenly, this wasn't a business trip. It was a luxury family vacation for the two most irresponsible people I knew. Their social media feeds became a nonstop parade of excess. It started with the pre-flight stories, first-class tickets, Mia posing with a tiny $40 airport salad, Hunter showing off a custom limited edition weekender bag. Then, Miami. The posts were manic. A ridiculously expensive VIP suite at a hotel I could never afford, with a balcony view of the ocean. Mia did a shaky TikTok tour of the room, breathlessly whispering about the Italian marble and the infinity pool. Hunter posted a picture of himself in a ridiculously tailored linen suit, holding a champagne bottle that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. The next day, it was the boat. A private yacht rental. Not a little dinky, but a gleaming 50-foot monster with a crew and a water slide. The caption, courtesy of Mia, read, "Living the life we deserve." My finger hovered over the mute button on their profiles, but I kept watching. I was a structural engineer, trained to spot the weak point, the load-bearing failure. And I knew the numbers. My parents, Linda and Ron, had respectable but very average middle-class incomes. They weren't rich. They weren't even upper middle class. My dad's business was doing fine, which meant break-even. My mom worked part-time at a local clinic. I did some quick cold calculations. First-class flights for two, 5 nights in that VIP suite, the private boat rental, the endless designer clothes, the dinners, the bottle service. This was a minimum of $25,000, maybe closer to $35,000. Money they simply did not have. I checked the black hole spreadsheet. I hadn't sent them a major sum in 4 months. Where did this come from? I called my mother. I kept the tone neutral, almost casual. "Mom, those Miami posts look amazing. Did you guys win the lottery?" Linda's voice became instantly sugary, too sweet. "Oh, honey, it's just Ron finally getting the business accounts in order. A little investment paid off, thank goodness. They deserve this. They work so hard on their personal brands." A huge, flashing red warning sign went off in my head. Personal brands. She was using their influencer jargon. It was a lie. A poorly constructed, flimsy lie like a piece of dry wall over a structural beam. They were acting way too comfortable with this level of spending. It felt reckless. It felt like they were spending money they thought they could get back. And there was only one person who always made the money reappear. Me. I felt a cold dread settle in my gut. This wasn't a treat. This was a setup. They were running up a massive bill, letting the golden children feel their entitlement validated. And when the inevitable bill collector showed up, they would turn, with their synchronized puppy dog eyes, and call the ATM. I went to bed that night with my phone ringer on, not because I expected a pleasant call, but because I was waiting for the inevitable emergency. I slept fitfully, waiting for the structural failure I knew was coming. The call came at 2:07 a.m., Seattle time. My phone screen flared with the word, "Mom." I sat up in the dark, the Seattle rain tapping against the window, and hit the green button. The noise that hit my ear wasn't a voice. It was a raw, primal scream, thick with hysteria and fake theatrical tragedy. "Avery, Avery, you have to help us. Oh my God, my baby. He's dying, Avery, he's dying." My heart, after years of this abuse, didn't race. It just felt like a cold stone in my chest. I didn't say hello. I said flatly, Mom, what is wrong? The hysteria intensified. It's Hunter. He lost all the money. They won't let him leave. Oh God, the casino. Avery! He got in a fight. He's in the ER. The doctor just said he needs surgery, but they won't even look at him until we pay the debt. You have to send the money now. I heard a heavy male sigh in the background, a familiar sound of calculated parental distress. It was my father. Avery. Ron's voice was low, shaky, the perfect tone of a defeated man. It's bad. He lost more than we had. The casino security. They took him. He's got a cracked rib, maybe internal bleeding. They said they'd call the police and charge him with assault if we don't clear the $2,500 he lost at the blackjack table before sunrise. Please, honey. Please just send the $2,500. He needs his pain meds and they won't give him anything. They had done their research. They knew the number. $2,500 was a massive sum, but still plausible for me to transfer instantly. They made the stakes life or death. The clock ticking, tying a medical emergency to a ridiculous gambling debt. It was the perfect, monstrous cocktail of emotional blackmail. I closed my eyes. I could hear Linda weeping into the phone, the noise exaggerated, like she was holding the mic closer to her mouth for effect. He's dying, Avery. Are you going to let your brother die for $12,000? I opened my eyes and looked out at the dark city skyline. I felt an incredible stillness wash over me. It was the calm of a breaking point, the cold, clear clarity of a person who has finally reached the limit of their endurance. They didn't think I had a soul. They just thought I had a bank account. I took a slow, deep breath. My voice, when I spoke, was quieter than a whisper, but it cut through my mother's fake sobs like a razor. Mia is right there in Miami with him, isn't she? I asked. A sudden, jarring silence. My mother's crying cut out, like a switch being flipped. She is the one who keeps posting about living the life she deserves, I continued, my voice gaining strength. She's the one who was just showing off that $5,000 handbag. I paused, letting the silence scream. Then, I delivered the line, the one I should have said 20 years ago. Call your perfect little princess. I didn't wait for the inevitable torrent of guilt and rage. I hit the end call button. I silenced my phone entirely. Every ringer, every vibration, every notification. I put it on my bedside table, rolled over, and for the first time in my adult life, I went back to sleep. Deeply, peacefully, completely. I woke up to sunlight streaming into my Seattle loft. The first thing I noticed was the absolute silence. It was glorious. I made myself a perfect pour-over coffee, the aroma filling my kitchen. I put on a pair of noise-canceling headphones, put on a playlist of classical music, and started my day. I did a load of laundry. I meal prepped my lunches. I even dusted the windowsills. Every chore felt like an act of rebellion, an affirmation of my own peace. I only finally picked up my phone at 9:30 a.m. My fingers were steady. The phone immediately buzzed and lit up like a Christmas tree. 127 missed calls, 84 texts, 14 voicemails. I scrolled through the lock screen notifications. They were a symphony of predictable abuse. Mom. Avery, you are going to regret this. Ron is having chest pains. Dad. Text. Please, Avery. This isn't like you. We are begging you. Mia. You are a monster. Hunter is bleeding, and you hate us. We will never forgive you. Unrecognized Florida number. This is the hospital finance department. We need a guarantor for bond. I blocked it. Unrecognized Vegas number. We are calling regarding a debt incurred by Hunter Collins. The police are being contacted. I blocked it. I went into the voicemail app. My mother's voice notes were a descent into madness. The first was a screeching 10-minute declaration of me being cold-hearted and a disgrace. The last one, left at 6:45 a.m., was a low, terrifying whisper. Avery, You are destroying your family. You will be alone forever. I deleted them all without a single pang of regret. Then I went to TikTok. I knew Mia wouldn't be able to resist broadcasting her victimhood. The first video, already pinned to her profile, had 3.4 million views. It was titled, "Scapegoat Sister Abandons Dying Brother in Ear." It was exactly what I expected. Mia, makeup smeared, fake crying into the camera from a brightly lit hospital waiting room. "Guys, I can't even believe I'm doing this," she choked out. "My brother Hunter is in the emergency room right now, internal injuries, and the only person who can help, my sister, Avery Collins, a Seattle civil engineer, is refusing to answer her phone." She didn't stop there. She tagged my full name. She tagged the city of Seattle. Then, in the video description, she had done the unforgivable. She tagged my workplace. She had launched a full-scale digital terror campaign against me. The comments were a firestorm. "A true babe 22. What a selfish B-word. She makes engineer money and won't help her family. Seattle worker. I hope her boss sees this. Despicable. Family first. Just send the money, you sociopath." Below the video was a link, a GoFundMe titled, "Help Hunter Collins Fight for His Life." The description, clearly written by my mother, was a masterpiece of pathological lying. It claimed that Hunter had been mugged and critically injured, and that his older sister, who has millions, had refused a single dime, leaving the poor, struggling family to fight for his life alone. The GoFundMe was already at $17,000. They weren't just trying to shame me into paying. They were using my betrayal as a fundraising tool. They were profiting from my supposed heartlessness. I stared at the screen, a small, genuine smile forming on my face. This was it. The total war. The nuclear option. I felt nothing but relief. They had finally given me permission to be the monster they always painted me as. I went to my email. I sent a single, simple message to my company's HR and legal departments, attaching the GoFundMe link, a screenshot of Mia's post, and a brief explanation of the financial and emotional abuse, labeling it doxing and extortion. I asked them to issue a cease and desist, or a threat of one, to anyone using my company's name. Then I blocked Hunter, Mia, Linda, and Ron on every single platform. Phone, email, text, Instagram, TikTok. Total radio silence. I poured myself a second cup of coffee. The chaos was outside my window, but my life was finally quiet. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of the GoFundMe was what finally pushed me to do the deep dive. The family wasn't just manipulative, they were criminals, plain and simple. I was sitting in my loft, listening to the silence of my blocked phone, when I pulled up the black hole spreadsheet. I scrolled through the $450 worth of transactions, searching for the crack in their story. How did they pay for the luxury trip before I refused the $12,500? The answer, I realized, wasn't in the spreadsheet. It was in the one place they knew I would never look unless forced to. My parents. Linda and Ron had been so focused on getting me to fund their lives that they had entirely failed to manage their own financial affairs. They were terrible with money, and more importantly, they were impulsive. The luxury Miami trip had to have been funded by a loan. A big one. I logged into my online banking and pulled my comprehensive credit report, the one you had to dig for, not the free consumer snapshot. I had locked my credit after a few suspicious transactions years ago, but I ran the full, in-depth check anyway. And there it was. Not a loan in my name now, but a loan from 4 years ago, one that was nearly paid off, which was why it had disappeared from my immediate memory. It wasn't a family loan. It was a $30,000 second mortgage taken out on the family house. I looked at the documents, eyes scanning the fine print, and my blood ran cold. The mortgage wasn't a standard parent-owned debt. It was a home equity line of credit taken out against the house, which my father had put into a revocable trust, with me, the eldest, as a co-signer and the sole designated future heir, without my knowledge or consent. It was a common, legally murky tactic for parents who want to feel secure in their home while forcing a child to fund it. He had subtly used my signature, forged or secured through some long-forgotten piece of mail I'd signed years ago, to guarantee the loan. They hadn't just paid for the Miami trip. They had almost fully drained the final $30,000 from the home equity line of credit, which I was ultimately responsible for, using the money they should have been paying into the mortgage on this extravagant vacation. The $2,500 wasn't for the ER. It was a last-ditch effort to replenish the depleted equity before a bank audit or foreclosure notice hit their door. They were hemorrhaging cash and realized they had spent my future. But the final twist, the one that made my stomach drop, was not the house. It was a line item right beneath the mortgage, a credit card, an American Express Black Card, open for 6 months, maxed out at $50,000. It had never shown up on my regular credit alerts because the last name was spelled slightly wrong, and the social security number was a near-perfect forgery. But the home address and the primary authorized user matched mine. They had stolen my identity, not to pay a bill, but to open a luxury credit card that mirrored my income and credit score, just so Hunter could flash it in Miami. They were spending $50,000, not $2,500. I was looking at a total of $110,000 in exploitation, a $30,000 loan on a house I was co-signing on, and a $50,000 fraudulent credit card in my name. They hadn't just staged the hospital visit. They had orchestrated a multi-layered financial crime. The GoFundMe was just a pathetic distraction from the massive mountain of debt they had created in my name to fund their golden children's decadent fantasies. They weren't victims. They were identity thieves. The shock was a physical blow. It was the deepest, most shocking betrayal of all. They didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as a commodity to be used, drained, and eventually destroyed. The subsequent months were a blur of legal paperwork and cold, hard boundaries. I hired a forensic accountant and an identity theft lawyer. I filed police reports against my parents for fraud and identity theft. The $50,000 black card was immediately flagged as fraudulent, the debt frozen, and a massive investigation began. The GoFundMe was shut down, the money frozen, and Mia and Linda were investigated for wire fraud. Hunter, who was only slightly injured, a sprained ankle, not internal bleeding, was left to face the fallout from the casino and the police charges his father had mentioned, which were very real. I sent one final certified letter to my parents' house, drafted by my lawyer. It was short. It detailed the identity theft, the fraudulent loan, the police reports, and a legal notice of no contact. I changed my number, my bank, and my name in a few public-facing professional records. I became a ghost to them. I started therapy, of course. My therapist, a wonderfully dry, no-nonsense woman, helped me process the deep, decades-long trauma. We didn't focus on them. We focused on me. We talked about how freedom is terrifying at first, because you don't know who you are without the chains. I used the $110,000 I was no longer sending to them to finally secure the down payment on a beautiful small house just outside the city. Every monthly payment I made felt like a giant, defiant middle finger to the past. The house was mine, the money was mine, the life was finally, unequivocally, mine. I saw Mia and Hunter's final pathetic attempts on social media. They were broke, disgraced, and desperate, their followers gone, their victim narrative exposed. My parents had lost everything, their equity, their reputation, and finally, their ATM. The last post I saw before I blocked them forever was a grainy picture of my mom, sitting alone in a cheap kitchen, staring at a phone. The princess and the golden boy were home, broke, and angry. I never heard a word from any of them again. And that, truly, was the greatest gift they ever gave me. I still engineer bridges and highways. But now, when I look at the structures I design, I realized the strongest structure I ever built was the wall around my own heart. It was built of steel, not guilt. And it was unbreachable. Sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let the family you love destroy themselves without you.